Okay. Hi guys, I am back with another tutorial, and this time this is a cytopathology tutorial. Again, as I have told you, from now on I'll try to keep the tutorials within 15 to 20 minutes because I know that anyone's attention span is not more than 45 minutes in a very interesting and engrossing lecture. And since I only have to discuss the pitfalls, so I'm trying to make these videos short so that you don't have to, give too much time to these videos. And I mean, I'm just doing what I would like in a tutorial video when I watch one. Also, a big shout out to all my subscribers. We have reached 600 plus subscribers. That was something quite unexpected for me. Last week only we were around 550 or something, and now this week I'm 600. So that is 50 plus subscribers in such a short time. So thank you so much to all of you who watch my tutorials, who have subscribed me, who like my videos. Please like and share and subscribe if you find these tutorials useful. I have no monetary gains from these tutorials. These tutorials are for free. I just like sharing whatever I know about the topic, and I'm always open to discussions. I might know a few things which I don't know. There might be a few things which I don't know, and I have a few of you who discuss things with me on Messenger, and I really enjoy those discussions and those small chit chats that we have, not only regarding the subject, but some of them ask me about pathology as a subject. They take ask me about my experience. I ask them about their experience. So it is a nice exchange of the subject, as residents what problems we face. So I'm always open to anyone contacting me on Messenger. Again, I say I've not monetized any of these videos. These are all for free. So it's just a educational platform for me, and I hope that these tutorials are of some help. And of course, I have a lot to learn, and I learn from you. You learn from me. That is how it goes. So since I have to keep it within the 15-minute time frame, so now starting with the cytopath video this time. It was the hematpath video the last time, and now I'm doing the cytopath. So I'm starting with breasts now, and today I'll only be taking a very short tutorial on where you get confused in benign breast lesions when you do an FNAC. I have already taken basics of FNAC, and all those who do it know how a breast FNAC is done, how the area is exposed completely. The best method, this we've learned in surgery actually, to examine breast is ask the patient to keep their hands behind their head. This exposes the area of breast. And the second thing always that you have to remember is when you are palpating, this is all surgery actually, what I'm discussing right now, where that when you're palpating the breast lump, always move from the quadrant, start from the quadrant which is away from the lump. Do not start from the lump itself. The logic behind this is if it is an inflammatory lump or if it is a painful lump, the patient will not let you move beyond that lump and examine the axillary tail, the axilla, or any other quadrant. If the patient feels pain on the first attempt you try to palpate the lump. So always and always go either in the anti-clockwise or the clockwise direction, starting from the quadrant away from the lump. Reach the quadrant of the lump last, and then go to the axillary tail. So that way you will cover most of the breast. And breast examination, whether the patient complains or not, has to be bilateral. The procedure I've told you, you can even keep a pillow behind the shoulder to elevate the area where you feel the lump is. Always fix the lump away from the chest wall by holding it, and then put the FNAC needle. And another thing, in breast adenosis, or which is an ultrasonographic diagnosis, you will not get anything on FNAC. So adenosis of breast is one condition where you do not need to perform an FNAC. It is a diffuse proliferation. Adenosis, the word means proliferation of glands and ducts, and it is a diffuse proliferation. So in adenosis, there is no need to do an FNAC ideally. It is, if the ultrasound says adenosis, then it is fine. Second important thing that I want to bring to your notice is the Birard scoring. Breast is one of those lesions apart from thyroid where ultrasonographic finding is very, very important for a pathologist. So ideally, and if you put a needle before asking the radiologist to do the ultrasound, there will be needle induced changes in the lump, which will confuse an ultrasonologist and which will confuse you also, because there are findings on on the ultrasound that you do of the breast that grades the lesion into Birat category, and as the category progresses to category 4 and beyond, the lesion becomes malignant. So you have to always ask the clinician to first perform an ultrasound breast and then send the patient to you, especially if the patient has a clinical history of a close first cousin, like a close relative having a breast cancer, or a first cousin having a breast cancer, like your own sister, someone's own sister having it, mother having it, ovarian, breast, endometrium. I'll give you, in medicine we always correlate things with celebrities and food in pathology and medicine. That way you remember it well. So to all those people who watch English movies, and you know about Angelina Jolie, right? You know that she's got bilateral mastectomy and oophorectomy done because she has the BRCA mutation, BRCA mutation present in her body. The reason is that BRCA mutation causes breast, sometimes endometrial, but more often breast and ovarian cancers. And she had a positive family history. Her mother suffered from, I think, ovarian cancer. So she got her BRCA analysis done, and she got oophorectomy and bilateral oophorectomy and bilateral mastectomy done. So in breast FNAC, family history and ultrasonography, because on ultrasound you can see for microcalcifications, you can see for extent of the lesion, you can see for sentinel lymph nodes by going into the axillary tape. These are few important points that you need to keep in mind. Don't try and do an FNAC in a lactating female. You might do it, you will get a lot of milk with your FNAC done, so you can give her some time, because a lot of times clinically it has been seen that lactating females present with lumps in the breast. Most probably they are fibroadenomatous or milk collection, galactoseals, etc., and they will resolve with time. However, if you give it 2 months, 3 months and it is not resolving, then go for an FNAC. Sometimes the milk collects and causes infection, hence mastitis is very common in lactating females. You don't need to aspirate a mastitis. You get a clinical history, even if the clinician sends it to you, you can just tell the clinician to wait, give her an antibiotic therapy, and then if it does not resolve or forms a lump, go for an FNAC. Fourth point that I have to remind you about is if it is a tubercular, if you are in any way expecting an abscess, always in India, kahi ka bhi ho, please remember TB is very common. Always aspirate the abscess or the cold abscess or whatever in the anti-gravity manner. That is, don't put the needle from below if this is the lump, put it from above. Otherwise, a fistulous leaking tract will be formed, because if it is TB, then the healing of the tract that the needle creates is very difficult. The filarial breast is not very common worldwide, but I have in my own experience seen 3 cases where there was filaria in the breast. So it is not that uncommon in UP, I can say at least. And so these were some very common points that I wanted to take. Now let's quickly go to the pictures that I have on this. So when you are diagnosing breast on FNAC, there's a Robinson's criteria. I'm not going to discuss it here today. It is a malignant lesion criteria, because I'm only dealing with benign lesions. However, either you will call it a malignant smear, and that would be an what unequivocal diagnosis means is कि वो देख के समझ में आ रहा है ये malignant है, and that criteria is to call it malignant. This is Robinson scoring की photo actually. I'll tell you what it is. Suspicious you can call when there's insufficient evidence. Atypical or indeterminate when you are not very sure of the cytology की है atypia की नहीं है. Benign non-specific when these fibrocystic breast lesions are there. And unsatisfactory when you do not see, you see only cyst macrophages or pink serous fluid or nothing else, completely bloody smear. Important point to note when you want to delineate a malignant and a benign lesion is the scattered single bipolar cells, which is a hard sign, hard criteria to call something a benign lesion. Then irregular edges of the cluster, holes and streaming in the clusters present, 3D overlapping of the clusters. Very late in the order do you come at the nuclear morphology and see whether the NC ratio is high or pleomorphism is there or nucleoli is there or mitotic figure is there or a granular chromatin is there. What is more important is a 3D cluster or irregular large clusters, absence of bare bipolar cells or very few, and absence of the myoepithelium if it is at times seen with the entire large clusters when they come out. That is, I think, the most important point that you have to see, because anisonucleosis is common both in breast and thyroid. In fact, as you go to breast malignancies, sometimes you will get to see very uniform nucleus rather than an anisonucleosis. Okay. Okay, again, benign versus low grade, this is most important. Benign, non-neoplastic breast tissue can be low cellular yield, but a low grade carcinoma will be very cellular. Sheets and aggregates are cohesive of small uniform cells and they are discohesive irregular clusters. Here you will get round, nice stag antler pattern if it's a fibroadenoma. Here the clusters will be very irregular, although the cells may be very, very uniform looking. They are small, round, bland chromatin. The only catch is that the nucleus is very hyperchromatic. The nucleus is not like you in an anaplastic carcinoma, you see very large, aisa nahi dikhega. There's not too much pleomorphism. And sometimes you might get confused. So I look for bipolar cells, whether they are there or not. I look for well-formed clusters, whether they are not, and whether 3D clusters are there or not. Again, myoepithelial cells are present, they are not present, and bipolar cells are present and they are not present. So benign lesion, if you see these kind of cells on a dirty background or higher picture, see this. This is actually lactating breast. A lot of cyst macrophages see foam cells which have taken up that milk and glycogen, you'll see on a dirty background, which is the milk. If it is mastitis, you'll see inflammatory cells with it. So you might confuse it with a malignancy, especially the first years. Please do not do it. Fine. These are macrophages. These are, you will get this, these could be macrophages or apocrine breast cells full of milk, which will give you a problem in interpreting them. And this is the spindle cell of the fibrous stroma that sometimes you pull out with the breast if it has a lot of stroma. Here what you see are small, if you can make out, these are small papillary clusters. But the cell is very uniform, and see how cellular the smear is. Same here, same here. But all this is benign, nothing is malignant. You might think this is malignant. The nucleus might be very uniform. The smear might be very cellular. But you will also see, if I could get a high power here, you will see scattered single nuclei, that is bipolar cells. And in some of these clusters, if I go high power, I can make out spindly cells, which are the myoepithelial cells. And they are very uniform clusters actually, not very malignant clusters. See, stag antler pattern. You've seen a stag and the antlers, the Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer wala stag, the antler pattern, this is that. So this is very, very common pattern in fibroadenoma. Now fibroadenoma can have a completely fibrous stroma like this without any epithelial component. And on FNAC you might confuse it with fibrous. It is very common and biopsy is the only way of coming out of it. Again, here you see a lot of anisonucleosis. Some cells are big, some cells are small, but this is benign because you will get to see some scattered cells. See one here, see some spindly cells here. See, these all are myoepithelial cells, some bipolar cells, mostly myoepithelial. This is benign. So I am only looking for bipolar and myoepithelial cells. See, this is another stag antler pattern with fibrous stroma of a fibroadenoma. This is a phyllodes actually. See, the spindly cell. Now, where will you confuse the phyllodes? You will confuse it with either a fibroadenoma with a lot of stroma or angiosarcoma breast. Giant phyllodes. You might get like big, huge phyllodes covering the entire breast. And they are large. They come like, they look very malignant on gross examination. And if you look at angiosarcoma breast, they will have these spindly cells. So how will you differentiate? Of course, biopsy is the go-to, but the most important thing is angiosarcoma breast develops in a previously known case of breast cancer undergoing radiotherapy. Phyllodes is a benign lesion. Having said that, phyllodes can have malignancy in it as a phyllodes sarcoma developing, but that is another story which can only be delineated on biopsies. See, these are again, see, these are such uniform cell clusters over here. See, another, and see, scattered cells. These are bipolar cells. See, stag antler. Now, here the NC ratio is a little high. So, this comes in the atypical or suspicious category, and in this small micro image, I am not seeing any other bipolar cell. Same over here. I'm not seeing many bipolar cells. Same over here. So here you can put it in the suspicious category, but not this. This is clearly benign. See, now these are various types of fibroadenomas, and what I wanted to show you, see, look at the amount of pleomorphism in this fibroadenoma. This is quite common. If you get these bipolar cells and the spindly myosi, these are myoepithelial cells. Even if you get this, understand that this is ATPR, but this is not significant. So you can give a suspicion, but mostly if it is bipolar, give it as fibroadenoma, give it as benign proliferative breast lesion, and you can advise a follow-up. Lot of stroma over here. Again, it is a very fibrous fibroadenoma. Lot of stromal component. This fibroadenoma over here has a lot of, if you see the cytoplasm, it's quite granular. I'm rubbing it off so that you can see it. And I'm changing the color over here. So this is quite granular. So this kind of cell can confuse you with apocrine metaplasia. When the breast cells are secreting milk or anything, then a lot of granular eosinophilic material develops. Apocrine is a way of releasing your secretions. Like supposing this is a cell and a snout is formed, and this snout has a lot of secretions, milk, etc. And then this cuts itself off from the cytoplasm. The tip gets cut off and it gets secreted out. Matlab this tip entire vesicle gets secreted out. So that is apocrine way of secretions, giving out your secretions. And apocrine metaplasia is when the lining epithelium of the breast has an apical snout filled with secretions. The cytoplasm is granular, pinkish, amphophilic. This is Giemsa probably, so this is not very pinkish. This is Yasi, this is Giemsa. So this is purplish, but there's a lot of granular ample cytoplasm which you don't see usually in breast. So this might confuse you with an apocrine metaplasia, which is again benign and can occur in lactating adenomas also, or hormonal therapy. So this is a very small gamut of breast lesions. Then comes the infective. I've told you TB, filaria, etc. very common in breast. And that when you do the FNAC, you might get giant cells. In fungal lesion, very rare. But in very immunocompromised cases, you might get fungal, those capsulated organisms in the fungus. So very few sarcoid breast can occur very rarely. I've not seen a case till now. Again, you'll get granulomas. So benign lesion of breast is very limited, and only thing that you should know is how to differentiate a benign from a malignant. Three things. One is the bipolar, one is the myoepithelial, third is the cell cluster. That is my good. And this is a paper which gives you a, please go and read it. This is I think by Yoshida et al. It tells you about the cytological scoring of FNAC of breast duct dilatation and cystic lesion. You can go ahead and read it. It's a very nice paper for beginners, sorry. And these are my references. I've taken, of course, images are from Orels and Google Images. And Orels and Grace are my go-to book for cytology. So I hope you enjoyed this short tutorial, and I'll see you next week. Thank you so much.